Hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of Let's Start a Conversation. We have an absolutely amazing show planned for you guys tonight. Tonight's show is all about educational issues in America. We have a panel of guest speakers that are going to be joining us tonight. But before we get to our guest speakers, I got a couple of things to cover with you guys. So first and foremost, as everybody knows, last week, Jeremiah made the announcement that due to some moving issues that he has right now with him selling his home and moving into his new one, he's going to be taking a sabbatical until probably around November from the show. With that being said, we have our new temporary guest host who's going to be with us. Her name is Tia Miller, and Tia Miller is the Public Information Officer for America United. Tia, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me on tonight.
We are so happy to have you here on the show filling in for Jeremiah. We really appreciate it. Why don't you go ahead and tell all of our watchers and viewers at home a little bit about yourself?
Well, first, I'm a full-time mom to 2 children. I have a background in journalism, accounting, business management, very community involved. Everything is about the kids. So, basically, it's me in a nutshell. I'm a full-time mom, and that's my focus.
Okay. And like I said, you are the Director of Public Relations. You're also the Public Information Officer for America United, which is a big responsibility. You handle all of our press releases, as well as all of the drafts that need to be written up for any kind of communications. You communicate with all of our state chapter presidents in order to help them with their press releases and media outreach that they have going on, as well as reaching out to their congressmen and so on and so forth. So that's a lot of responsibility. So I appreciate you coming on the show to fill in for Jeremiah until he comes back in November to be here with us. I know that that's an added thing onto your plate, so we appreciate that.
Oh, it's no problem. I actually appreciate and feel very grateful that you asked me to join.
Well, we're happy to have you. So let's talk for a second. I know I've talked about it for the last 2 episodes, but I want to bring it up again because we're rocking and rolling with it, and we're going to be having it up and running here soon. We're talking about American Patriot News Network, the newest part of America United. As people know, about 3 weeks ago, America United acquired American Patriot News Network. You can see the banner on your screen. It's going to be getting rebranded as America United News Network. It will remain the home of freedom and America's #1 conservative news network. It's going to be the news arm of America United. It's going to be a very big deal for us. It's going to help give us a platform to get the word out and to handle a lot of the press releases, which Tia is going to have a big part to do in, and she's going to have a lot to do with that as far as the press release end of it, the articles that are getting posted on there. There's going to be news articles, and there's going to be some blogging abilities. The state chapter presidents will be on there. So Tia, I mean, are you as excited as I am about this acquisition of this news network? I mean, I'm really excited about it. How do you feel?
I'm very, very excited about it, especially because everything right now is so censored and everything is very touchy for everybody to speak on. So it kind of gives everyone a free platform to speak their mind, speak their view and their opinion, and not get verbally bashed, I guess is how I want to put it. So I'm looking forward to this greatly.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I spoke to our marketing director, Charissa, and when I spoke to Charissa, she was really excited about us bringing this on and acquiring this as well. She thinks it's going to be a great addition when the website goes live here soon. Her and I are actually going to be touching base tomorrow to finish up the last little bits of the website before that can officially go live. And then we're going to blend America United News Network into the website and interface it. And there's just going to be a lot that comes in with that. There's going to be some social media aspects with it as well, which I think will be great for not only us, but for all of our viewers and people who are looking for a new home instead of Facebook or Twitter or places like that, where they're not getting censored, where their First Amendment rights are protected and they actually have the right to freedom of speech. So I think that that's going to be a really big deal for us. Also on that note, as you know, we have the America United app that's going to be coming, the mobile app for the phones. Me and Jeremiah introduced that last week and spoke about that. It's got so many different things on it. We went through it. I'm not going to really get into it again, but we have the the social media part of it. We have the threads, we have the forums, we have the messaging. You can follow the YouTube link there to watch our videos, our Twitter. You can donate, create a state chapter, become a member, all sorts of amazing stuff. So that's going to integrate with the website and with America United News Network as well, Tia. So that's going to be huge for us as well. I hope you're as excited about that app as I am. It's going to be available for the Google Play Store as well as for the Apple iStore for purchase. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks here. It's in beta test now. So that's really exciting news.
Absolutely, because where are we always? What do we always have in our hands anymore? The phone. So the phone is the easiest thing to get to than a laptop.
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely excited for that.
Absolutely it is. So just real quick before we get to our segments, to all of our watchers and viewers at home, hey guys, please remember that we are a non-for-profit organization, so we run on donations and charity and the willingness of everyone to give to the organization. So as you know, we have Operation Home Safe, which is aimed at ending child sex predators, getting pedophiles off of the internet, as well as getting them put behind bars where they are supposed to be. We have the Red, White, and Back the Blue campaign. We have the All Lives Matter campaign that are going on. These are all great movements, great campaigns. Please support us in any way that you can. You can donate to us at paypal.me/America United. And it's in the links in the comments below in the feed that you're watching right now. So if you just click on it, it'll bring you right to the page. You type in how much you want to donate, whether it's $1, $5, $10, whatever you can do. We ask you to be as generous as possible. Every cent goes to helping us achieve our goals and move our missions forward into making this a united America and a great place for everyone to live, regardless of who you are. So we ask that you please donate. Again, it's at paypal.me/America United. It's in the comments below. Click on the link, put in your credit card information, fill out how much you want to donate, and it'll send it right into the America United account. And it's also tax deductible because we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can write it off at the end of the year as a tax deduction. So without further ado, we're going to get to our first segment here, Tia. We have a panel of guests that are here with us today. So I want to go ahead and introduce our guests. Let's bring on our 3 guest speakers and we'll introduce them one by one. Our first guest speaker is going to be Bree Loder. Bree is the North Dakota State Chapter President of America United. Welcome to the show, Bree.
Welcome, Bree.
Thanks for having me.
We are really excited to have you here. And it's great to have you on the show, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say. So in a couple of minutes, we're going to be getting into our first segment, and we'll bring you on, and we'll hear what you have to say, all right?
Perfect.
All right. Our next guest speaker that we have tonight is Amber Agee. Amber, hi. Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Hi, Amber. Welcome to the show.
Hi.
We're also looking forward to having you on the show. As I said to Bree, we're going to give you a couple of seconds in a minute here to go ahead and introduce yourself to everyone. But first, let's introduce our third guest. And our third guest tonight comes to us from New York, and her name is Jennie Carmona. Hi, Jennie. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
We're happy to have you here. So let's get all 3 of our guest speakers on the screen here, and let's give them a chance to introduce themselves and be able to tell the viewers at home a little bit about themselves and what it is that they do. So I guess we can start. We can start with Amber, since we got you up on the screen here. Amber, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks again for having me. I live in Midland, Texas. Long time. I've been here since I was a little bitty. I heard about what you were doing, was very intrigued, very interested in coming on and giving my point of view. Strong Second Amendment supporter. Just want to get the word out and spread what I can about what I know about the 2A amendment. Just get my input on the events going on today.
That's awesome. Really happy to have you on the show. We're looking forward to getting your point of view on things tonight. Let's bring on Bree. Bree, are you there with us?
I am.
Hey, Bree, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell the viewers at home about you.
I'm from Southwest North Dakota. I've lived here my entire life. And my passion is and goals with America United is to make sure there's equality among all races, to have support for our law enforcement officers, as well as our Operation Home Safe movement, getting the pedophilia off the streets, off the internet, and making sure they get their proper sentences, and just making sure that kids are safe.
That's awesome. And we are so happy to have you as one of our state chapter presidents. And by the way, great job with your state chapter. I've been watching your guys' statistics and your chapter page and your chapter group. You guys are doing really great things. So I'm really excited to see you guys moving forward here. Great job on that. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. And let's bring on Jennie. Jennie, hi, welcome. And tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an educator. Is that correct?
Yes, I am a child care coordinator / director for a daycare center, and I also run a before and after care program for school age kids. From New York. I've lived here all my life. Actually, Long Island. Fun parts about the Hamptons. I come from a long line of family in law enforcement and military, so I support all sectors and equality. I'm all for all lives matter. And I'm happy to be here to be able to put my input in. And sorry, that would be my 4.5-year-old. Like I said, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here and happy to have your 4.5-year-old here with us as well. All right. So, okay, guys, let's go ahead and get into our first segment. So our first segment, we're going to talk about bullying. So Tia, bullying seems to be, it's always been a problem in schools. It's always been something that kids have had to deal with throughout their educational careers, whether it be in elementary school or middle school, high school, even in college, people are being bullied. But what I've noticed is we're seeing a change in the trend of how bullying has occurred. Bullying used to be just something really that it occurred in the hallways. You'd get, walk down the hallway and you get bumped by somebody and they knock your backpack off or, knock your books off your hands or whatever. And now we're really coming into an area where we're seeing a lot more online bullying or cyberbullying, as they call it. And I think that's, I personally, I'm kind of concerned about this cyberbullying because the schools aren't really doing anything about it from what it seems to handle it. And it's causing a lot of problems for students. We're seeing a rise in the number of cases of this occurring. We're seeing a rise in the number of students who are either committing or attempting to commit suicide because of the way that they're feeling because of this cyberbullying. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I think social media has really left a lot of people too comfortable with saying whatever they want to say to other people and not have to face the repercussions for it. And it's not just happening with children, it's happening with adults. It's gotten to the point where children are actually coming after adults too. People have gotten way too comfortable with sitting behind social media and just viewing whatever they want, and there's no repercussions for it. As per in school, it's very easy to start a rumor but now it goes even further. It goes worldwide. Once it goes on the web, that's it. It's there forever. So I think a lot of children, and I have a daughter who's 11 and a half and she's in middle school, and I could see where a lot of the problem can come from and why doesn't it get handled. It needs to be handled not only at home, but it does also need to be handled in school. You need to intercept before things get taken to the next step where you don't want them to go, where it does either result in violence or a student or a child or anyone thinking about taking their own life.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there, Tia. I think that a lot of the problem does start in the home. Parents need to monitor what their children are doing on the internet. They also need to take responsibility for what their children are doing. And I think that brings up an interesting point for us, is that as a whole, as a society, we have lost touch with the need and the requirement for people to be responsible for their own actions, for people to take responsibility for what they've done. If you look at the way that the world is now, the thing that you're seeing the most is, oh, it's not my fault. It's not my fault. It's the government's fault. It's this person's fault. It's the left. It's the right. It's this group, that group, this religion. Right. It's everybody but the person who actually did wrong's fault. And that is an alarming problem within our country as well, I think. And, I want to bring up on screen here some really interesting facts that we have. that I think kind of point to exactly what we're talking about here. So if we look at these this list of interesting facts that we have, and we can bring this up on the screen here, I think that this will kind of highlight what I'm talking about. So, I mean, look at these facts, Tia. The most common type of an online harassment is mean comments. That's 22.5% of them. 35% sent a screenshot of someone's status or photo online just to laugh at them. 61% of teens who report being bullied say it was because of their appearance. 56% of online harassment victims reported that they'd been harassed on Facebook. And 7 out of 10 young people experienced some form of cyberbullying before they ever hit the age of 18. Those are alarming numbers, Tia. That's an alarming stat for us to have to look at. I mean, that's really scary.
They really are. And the comments are just, they get nastier and nastier. As an adult, and having children speak to me on certain things, I have been told to kill myself. I have been told to throw myself off a bridge. I have been threatened physically. My children have been threatened. It's not as, it's very disturbing. And I even come out and ask these children, do your parents monitor your social media activity at all? And I'm generally told that I'm old enough where I don't need to be monitored. That's not the case. Somebody needs to be checking your social media activity. And that's when it's time to start being a parent. And being a parent does not mean putting your kid in front of the television or handing your kid the telephone or the tablet. It's quality family time.
I agree. I agree 100%. Let me ask you. Let me ask Jennie if we can have Jennie chime in on this one. Jennie, as an educator, are you seeing a trend like this in education? I know that you deal with primarily ages 4 through 10, somewhere in that area there. But are you seeing this kind of a trend? Are you seeing an uptick in bullying and things that are going on?
Yes, I am actually. If I could share a couple of instances that I had happened recently with some kids that we had. Recently, I have a couple of kids that are, because of everything going on, are saying that the staff is bullying them because of the color of their skin. And they keep throwing at us that we're pulling, as they like to call it, the race card.
All right, so I think we had a little bit of a problem with Jennie's camera there. We'll see if we can get her back up. But in the meantime, let me bring up Amber. Amber, let me ask you a question. So down in Midland, Texas, in that area, you know, first of all, they say that Texas is one of the most friendly states that they have in the country. So, you know, I definitely think that says something right there. But let me ask you, are you guys noticing these same problems? Are you seeing these kind of issues down there?
We are. It's not as prevalent as in certain other areas of the country, but it is something that unfortunately we are seeing an uptick in. It starts at home. It starts with the parents. If the parents don't do what they're supposed to do, if they don't instill those values of respect, common courtesy, love for one another, it just gets out of hand. But yes, unfortunately, it is spreading and it is taking over.
So let's talk about this for a second, because I think that it's important for us to understand where this is coming from a little bit. So we have some statistics here that we're going to show on the screen here of teen reporting, of the teens actually saying where these problems are coming from. So if we look at these statistics here, you know, you have 61% of teens are saying that they are being cyberbullied or bullied in general because of their appearance. You know, just what they look like or what they're wearing. That's a very disturbing number to see that someone is being bullied simply because of what they wear or what they look like. 25% for academic achievement and their intelligence, 17% because of race, 15% because of sexuality, another 15% for financial status, 11% based on religion, and 20% for an unspecified amount that isn't even fully reported. And if we go to our next slide here and we talk about the most common types of online harassment that are going on, and we look at those, 12.1% of the online harassment that teens are dealing with are sexual remarks. And this is based on an age range of anywhere from about 12 to 11 years old up and through 18 years old to the beginning of your 20s. Online rumors at 20.1%. We're at almost 23% for just mean comments. And again, 45 and 45.3% for just other unreported types of, not unreported, but unspecified types of harassment and bullying that are going on. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How is this occurring?
Are you addressing me?
Yeah. So, Amber, how are these things occurring? Like are parents just not watching their kids? Are they not paying attention to what's going on? Are the schools not getting involved the way they should? What's happening here?
I think, unfortunately, it's just a culture. It's a lot of things. You've got social media impacting the way kids think, the way, like you said, parents are engaging with their kids. You know, we're so busy and we're so wrapped up in life that we don't really take the time to sit down and, you know, talk to our kids, spend one-on-one time with our kids. I mean, it's a virus, and it's spreading, and it's heartbreaking.
It really is heartbreaking. I mean, look at this. Look at this graph that we have right here for forms of online harassment. These, again, are reported by teens themselves. So if we look at the forms of online harassment that are occurring, 35% of teens that were interviewed said that they were sent a screenshot of someone's status or photo on social media, specifically for the purposes of laughing at them in a group chat. 25% said that they had trolled someone in an online game. 17% said they liked or shared something online that openly mocked another person. 16% had done something to subtly annoy someone that they didn't like online. 12% had sent a nasty message, either privately or publicly, to someone that they knew offline. And 5% had created a fake profile, and used it just to annoy or upset another person. And let's think about this. This isn't just happening because or with kids. You know, we have this same poll that's being asked by adults. And if we can pull up and look at this adult poll that we did here, the adult poll is just as alarming. If you look at what was shared by adult internet users here, 53% of adults that were polled said that they had experienced some type of harassment or bullying of some kind. 41% said it was name calling, 33% at purposeful embarrassment, 37% on any form of severe harassment. 22% says it's physical harassment. Sexual harassment's at 18%, stalking right there with it at 18%, and then a sustained harassment at 17%. So again, the question becomes, what is the solution here? How do we protect our kids that are in school so that they aren't having to deal with this? I mean, we have children that are trying to commit suicide, and it seems to me that the schools aren't doing anything about it.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's our reality these days, and parents need to step up. A lot of it, like I said, stems to the home, and parents need to step up and pay attention.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I see that we were able to get Jennie's feedback, so let me try and bring Jennie Carmona back on here with us real quick and give her a chance to finish what she was saying. So, Jennie, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had a little problem with the Wi-Fi. I apologize.
No, you're fine. No problem. So, Jennie, you were starting to tell us that you're seeing these things in school, and you had said that you were giving us an example. You had a child who was being bullied because of his race or the color of his skin. Is that correct?
Well, the kid had claims that he is being bullied. However, it's actually reverse, and he is, or the child, I should really say, is using because the color of his skin because of what's going on for us to favor him. And it's now gotten to the point that it's out of hand, where the child is actually blaming other kids that aren't even there at the child care.
Okay.
So we've actually been, keeping in close communication with the parent.
Mom,
and that's where there's a problem as well, is the fact that the parent, a lot of times some parents just don't want to hear it. And we try and reach out. We give them resources. We talk to them. We let them know what's going on. We keep that open communication. Some parents just, okay, so what? And that's it. And it's
So what
really
you're
sad.
So what you're saying is, it sounds as though that this, I guess at least in some instances, it sounds to me as though the school is trying to get the parents to get involved, but they're just refusing to take action or take responsibility. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. Exactly. And it's very sad that we see that a lot of times we do see that with a lot of parents.
So what is the recourse there, though? If the parents won't get involved and the school's not getting involved, what recourse is there?
Well, once we have exhausted all options, then we reach out to our licensor or we'll reach out to other resources as well
And for when you say other
to help.
resources,
And well, we have like hotlines that we could reach out to that then we can place a call and then they will reach out to the parent as well.
okay, I understand. So, Bree, let me bring you on in on this, and let me hear what you have to say. What are your thoughts on this? What I mean, we've seen the graphs, we've seen the numbers and the percentages, and they're startling for sure, and they're alarming, and they're definitely something that we need to be concerned about here, I think. But the question really becomes is, how do we get a handle on it? How do we stop it from happening? I mean, we have schools that for lack of a better term are refusing to take action, refusing to do anything. It seems like they'll get involved in every part of a parent's life or a parent's rights in their home. But when it comes time for them to actually need to get involved, they don't want to. I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Where do we go from here?
It's super unfortunate. I'm going to get personal here for a minute. I have a 5-year-old daughter that is entering kindergarten, and I'm terrified of what's to come. Is she going to get bullied, or, she's going to come home crying one day saying she's bullied? I feel that they're starting to get severe enough to where law enforcement is getting involved, and we as parents need to make sure we keep open communication with the school and our children, and manage and watch their social media accounts. There are 2 cases that stand out to me right now. There's a little boy that was 9 years old, Jamel Miles. He was in a Denver elementary school, and he committed suicide. He hung himself because he had came out to his mom, and he had came out to a classmate of his, and it got around the school, and he started to get bullied. I don't recall how long this was going on. I think it was a few months. His mom walked in, and she couldn't revive him. And it's sad to know that these kids that young are killing themselves because they're being bullied. It's so unfortunate. And there was another case, Caitlin Davis, 12 years old in Georgia. She was being bullied, and actually this was not in school. She was being bullied and sexually harassed by a family member. She unfortunately live streamed her suicide by hanging, 12 years old, and it was 20 minutes. And so it's sad that these things are going on, and it breaks my heart.
Absolutely.
Both my kids are those ages. I have a 4.5-year-old and an 11.5-year-old. And I can say, as a full-time mother, that's why I gave up my careers, to be there for my kids. So no one else was raising my kids, and my kids were being taught respect. And so I could be involved in their school life. And I, for one, I wasn't going to get my daughter a cell phone at the age that she got a cell phone. Unfortunately, because of circumstances with my ex-husband, I really didn't have a choice. But I go through my kid's phone. That's my right. Last I checked, my name was on the cell phone bill. And until my child can pay her own cell phone bill, I will go through that phone whenever I feel fit. Same thing with my daughter's computer. I will go through her computer whenever I feel fit, because that is my job as her mother. And I have told her numerous times that if I ever have caught if she ever gets caught, talking down to anyone, making fun of anyone, harassing anyone, blackmailing anyone with screenshots, the phone would be smashed and she would never see the light of day ever again. And I think a lot more parents need to get more hands-on with that. Teach your kids that there are consequences to the actions in which you do. I also believe that children should not post everything on social media. It's screaming for attention. Certain things should not be posted on social media. Personal things should be kept off of social media. And I mean, that's just my view, but it screams for attention.
You know, Tia, it's funny that you say that because I'm actually looking at our comments here that we have in our comment thread right now. And Rob Space actually made a comment here, and he was saying how, race issues are taught at home. And he said that he had shared a video of kids that were about 5 to 10 protesting with signs saying F the police as they were walking with their parents. And again, that brings up an interesting point, I think, of, like you were just saying, the parents need to parent. I think that the parents, too many of the parents, are relying on the schools to do their job for them. The job of the school is to educate the child on reading, writing, and arithmetic and teach them the basic skills that they need in order to survive in life. The job of the parent is to teach them ethics, to teach them morals, to give them a religious foundation in whatever religion it is that they're going to practice, and to give them the guidance that they need in order to be a good, productive member of society. But Tia, let's bring up our three panelists side by side here for a second, and let's give them an opportunity to weigh in on a question here that I want to ask. So I'm going to ask all three of you guys at the same time here, and I'll go one by one, but let's get all of you up on the screen here. So my question is this. To you guys, do you think that a big part of the problem that we're seeing with this is that there has been a massive move to remove religion in all forms from the schools? And what I mean by that is they've taken religion out of school completely, right? They don't allow any kind of prayer. They're trying to do away with "In God We Trust," with one nation under God from the Pledge of Allegiance. They're trying to do away with religion completely. Do you guys think that that's part of the problem? Because I mean, I know when I grew up, what I was taught was that you treat others as you want to be treated. And I was raised as a Catholic, but you were taught that you treat others as you want to be treated. You were taught, let the man who has never committed a sin cast the first stone. Those are proverbs and parables that you're taught as a child, at least in my faith. And I'm sure every faith has, some form of that type of lesson there. But I feel like it's not being taught at school for sure, but also at home. I mean, has our nation lost touch with religion? And is that something they need to gain back? It seems like we lost touch with religion, and at the same time what happened that caused us to lose touch with reality. We'll just start from left to right. Amber, what do you think?
I think the moment you take God out of the family home, you take God out of anything. Myself, I grew up in a religious household. I think the second that you remove religion, you remove God, you don't have the morals that you were instilled with. That little window comes everything negative with it. You've got the bullying, the harassing, everything we've been discussing. I think religion does play a large role in that, and the country getting rid of it has really played a big part in it.
Bree, what are your thoughts on that?
I did grow up with God in my household. I did go to church. I just, I'm not exactly sure what drove, the lawmakers or school personnel to remove, under God or in God we trust. I feel that religion is very important to a student's life. I feel like removing it is it's not, I don't think it would be a good thing. And that's how I feel about it.
And Jennie, working in the education sector, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that we need to put some form of religion or religious beliefs back in the school, or is it that the parents need to take a more active role in teaching kids religion and morals at home? I mean, which side do you stand on?
I mean, to a certain extent, I do believe that we do need to bring some sort of religion back into the school systems. The fact that they are trying to push it out and take out certain things to change the Pledge of Allegiance, to modify it, I don't agree with that whatsoever. It was written and it should be practiced the same way. It should be, recited the same way. Nothing like that should be modified. Parents do need to, they really should be teaching their kids that respect and that those morals, to practice that and pass it on to when they get older and when they have kids. I mean, if they're not practicing it now, what's going to happen down the line?
Exactly. You're 100% right. And that leads us to an interesting point of, if you don't teach your children discipline in the home and you don't deal with the problems as a child, you're going to end up having them have to be dealt with law enforcement later on in life. And I think that that's a reason why we're seeing a lot of the problems that we see in our country, is because we've lost touch with parents' ability to parent. And I don't think that that's completely the parents' fault. I think a lot of that has to do with government intrusion into the home, government trying to tell parents how they can parent, when they can parent, where they can parent. It's at the point now where you can't even spank your child anymore if you're not, if you're out anywhere or even in your home. If someone sees it, you're getting reported to Child Protective Services. They're coming, they're taking your children away, and it's a nightmare for you. It completely is. The interesting thing too is,
my child is acting like a jerk out in public. My son is going to be told about
Sorry.
My son is going to be told about it. And when we get to the car, if he gets cracked in the mouth or cracked on the behind for acting up, then that's what happens. It's discipline. You're going to learn your lesson one way or another.
Well, absolutely. And, it brings us to an interesting point here where we talk about, too much government intrusion into the home, which brings us to our second segment. So the second segment that we're going to talk about here, it happened in Baltimore here recently. It was a COVID learning environment where a student was being taught by a teacher via a web chat or Zoom chat session. And the teacher, you can see here in the picture on the screen from the news article, the teacher noticed these BB guns in the room. I believe it was in the child's bedroom where they were. And they are properly mounted on the wall. They're safe. He wasn't holding them. He wasn't playing with them, loading them, using them, nothing. They were just there. Above it, you can see a bow and arrow. It was reported by the child's mother that, this child enjoys hunting. He enjoys going out with his father and practicing hunting and so on and so forth. This is an 11-year-old child we're talking about, okay? This teacher not only, instead of focusing on teaching the child, which is her job is to teach this child and to educate the child, she spent her time taking screenshots of this child's bedroom and then notified law enforcement and had police officers sent to the home. They entered the home and searched this child's bedroom. And when they found these rifles and saw that they were BB guns, obviously the officers from the police department in Baltimore were extremely apologetic. They spent a good amount of time speaking to the child and actually praising him for his gun safety and for having them mounted properly and making sure that they were stored the way that they should have been, unloaded, no problems, apologized to the mother. And when the mother called the school to find out why they didn't address it with her, they said that, it's not their responsibility to address it with her, that they have the right to report it to law enforcement. And when she found out that this teacher had taken screenshots of her child's room and of her home, which is an invasion of privacy, they refused to show them to the mother, stating that they were the property of the teacher who took them, and the school did not show them. So Amber, I know you've got something to say on this. You're a Second Amendment rights advocate. You're a gun supporter. We're talking about an 11-year-old child here who's being taught the right things with guns. He's being brought up the right way with guns, gun safety, and he's being raised in a home where he's being shown respect for weapons. And we have a teacher who is obviously attempting to violate the right of the family to own guns and have them in the home. And she's also intruding on his that family's right to privacy in their own home. I understand that we have to be able to teach our children during a COVID environment, but where do we draw the line? I mean, what are the problems here that you're seeing?
Well, I mean, the biggest issue I see here is when does the intrusion stop? When do parents have the final say so? And I mean, you're in my home. We're not in a classroom setting. You are in my home. So anything in my surroundings is my property. You are using my Wi-Fi. You are using my residence to teach these children. This is not a classroom. This is my home. This is my castle. Whatever may be around is between me and my family. Why are you getting involved? If it doesn't concern you, it's not a legitimate threat, why didn't you call the mother? You should have called the mom if you were really that worried. But looking at this photo, what is one of the first things you notice? The orange tip. What does that tell you? I just don't get it. I don't get it at all.
You know, and you're 100% right. When I looked at these photos, I mean, as a law enforcement officer, the first thing that I noticed when I looked at the photo of those weapons was the orange tips, which tells me right away that that is not a firearm, okay? That is either a toy gun or that is some form of a pellet rifle or a BB gun or some form of a child's toy. So, I mean, obviously we're dealing with a teacher here who is ill-informed, we'll say, on firearms. But the bigger portion of the question that I have really isn't so much whether or not she's informed, but the question is, why is she trying to get involved? It's none of her business what's going on in that person's home. The rifles being there are not hurting the child. It's not causing a clear and present danger to the child, the teacher, or the school, as it's not even on school property. I mean, where is the school's policy on policing on the internet? The school has no policy on teachers being able to discipline from inside the home. That's the parents' job. Why are they intruding on that? I mean, it really raises the question of where does it stop? Like you said, where does it stop?
It also didn't seem like it was affecting any other children that were on the Zoom session or whatever live session that they were on. Not only that, but I agree with Amber. You're being invited into our homes. What gives you the right to basically criticize what goes on in our homes? Our children are not in danger. If there was a legitimate reason to call if you felt that a child was in danger, but that's just, and then not give up the screenshots. I'm sorry, I don't agree with that at all.
And that's the bigger thing that really concerns me is that you're taking pictures of, I mean, if it was my child, I'd be livid. You're taking pictures of my child in their room, not telling me about it, and then you're refusing to show me what those pictures are. How do I know what's on those pictures? For all I know, you could have been telling my child to take their clothes off and you're taking pictures of them. I don't know what you did, and I have a right to know what you're doing. If you're taking pictures of my child, I have a right to know about it. You know, and we're not talking about an issue here of public space that's publicly viewable to everyone, where everyone has a right to view or videotape or photograph. We're talking about intrusion inside someone's home. You're taking pictures from inside someone's home. That's a violation of privacy. Jennie, I have to ask you, as an educator, Jennie, where do you stand on this? You work in education, and I'm curious where you weigh in on this. What do you think of the teacher's actions?
To be truthfully honest, as a parent as well, and as an educator, I think it's totally inappropriate. The teachers shouldn't be doing that. And if it was that much of an issue, they really should have thought things through first and went to their supervisor and then contacted the parent instead of going above and beyond. The fact that, like Tia said, you know, the fact that you're entering your own domain and, you know, somebody else is taking pictures is completely uncalled for. We have Zoom meetings all the time, our teachers with the kids, and no pictures are taken whatsoever. If there's any issues, our supervisor is approached first, or I'm approached. And then we have our executive director step in. Sorry.
Right. And see, that's my point. No, you're fine. And see, that's my point, though, is that there seems like there was not only a rogue attempt by this teacher, because from reading the article, it sounds as though the school was notified of it at some point. but the school was not made aware of it at the point that they should have been made aware of it. And there was no supervisory effort there. It appears to me that this teacher just went on her own and took these screenshots and made the decision that law enforcement needed to get involved. And again, this goes back to what me and Jeremiah were speaking about last week and the week before that, where we were talking about people using law enforcement for purposes that they shouldn't be using them for. You know, our job is not to police the home. Our job is to police the streets. Our job is to police the people and to make sure that everyone is safe when there is an actual threat to life or damage to property. But when we're talking about people's rights to do what they wish in their home, as long as it's not hurting anyone, where does it stop? I mean, Bree, what do you think? I mean, where does it stop? Where does it end? At what point do we say that enough is enough? You don't have the right to intrude into my home. Bree, I mean, what do you think?
Personally, and I was going to bring this up, I would be livid. I do feel that the teacher should have not taken screenshots, but also consulted with the parents, given them a call. And another point that was brought up by the law enforcement officers that came into the home was they commended the boy on how, you know, good, like things were, the BB guns were properly stored. It seems clear to me that she was not educated on at least minor education on firearms, that, you know, that colored tip. Everyone shouldn't usually know that that's like, you know, an airsoft gun, BB gun, something that's not like, you know, lethal. And I, you know, with my daughter, I had written permission. I signed, the school sent something asking if, you know, it was okay to take pictures or something with the newspaper. I gave my written permission because they asked permission first. You know, my daughter had speech therapy, you know, when COVID started to hit and we had Zoom meetings. I was not aware, and they said that it's all confidential, nothing would be taken. I do feel that privacy was invaded. And
I was just going to mention that I know at the beginning of every school year, we always get sent home a massive amount of paperwork that we have to fill out. And included in that paperwork is a permission slip in order to take pictures that would possibly go in the newspaper, that would possibly go into the school's yearbook, whatever it may be. But this is outside of the school. This is at home. And this is a new school year. And I didn't sign any, you know, no paperwork was signed giving you permission to take pictures of my child. You know what I mean? So I definitely think bounds were overstepped.
Well, see,
right. Unless there was like a specific, like, you know, permission slip sent in the mail saying, hey, you know, we are having Zoom meetings. Maybe there's going to be an activity. We were asking for permission to take a screenshot during this activity or something. I think I would allow that if I was asked permission, but if I was unaware, now when these happen, I will be right there with my child. I know in I can't remember which state it was, but they are pushing to have privacy during these like Zoom meetings with students, like no one else in the room. And that's just not going to fly with me whatsoever.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, we're not talking about a school setting where, you know, it's a classroom full of 30 students and you've got a teacher up there. There's monitors walking up and down the hallways. There's fail safes in place in case there is an adult who's doing something that they shouldn't be doing. You know, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a setting of an in-the-home setting where there's no one monitoring what's going on with that child aside from who's on that Zoom meeting call.
Well, not only that, but now we're getting, I know in our district in Pennsylvania, we're getting Chromebooks for the students given from the school. So I am financially responsible for that Chromebook if it gets destroyed. So it will be where I can see it, and it will be worked on downstairs, not in my daughter's bedroom, downstairs where I can see where she is, what she's learning, and I know where the Chromebook is because I'm financially responsible for that once it enters my home. So
absolutely. You know, 100%. You know, if you're financially responsible for it, then it's going to be where I can see it, because if I have to pay for it, I'm going to make sure that it's not getting broken. And you know, what's going on here with this story here in the school directly ties into our third segment Our third segment that we're talking about tonight is red flag laws. Are the teachers overstepping their job authority? So, I mean, if we look at the clips here that we have from two separate news articles, first one takes us to New York's red flag law, which allows teachers to alert judges for student safety. And the second news article that we have comes to us from California, where we have Governor Newsom, and he is also doing the same thing over there, allowing students, or teachers rather, to be able to ask for confiscation of firearms from the home as a teacher, based on nothing more than the teacher's thoughts or feelings. So, I mean, this is again a clear intrusion of the government into the home, into the privacy of the family, and a way for these gun grabbers to try and take firearms away from families by circumventing their Second Amendment rights and circumventing their rights to due process. And I really do think that these teachers are overstepping their bounds. I mean, Amber, are you dealing with these kind of red flag laws down in your state? I mean, I would doubt that you are, because it's a Republican state, but I know that in a lot of Democratic states, they do have these things. I know in Maryland, they had a issue, I believe it was about a year ago, where officers were sent to a guy's house because of a red flag law confiscation, and it ended up in a gunfight, which was resulting in a loss of life. And these are the problems that we're seeing with these red flag laws. And my question becomes, not only are you seeing these problems in your state, but what are your thoughts on the ability of a teacher to be able to make a decision as to whether or not a citizen has the right to own a firearm?
It's not up to the teachers. My right to own a firearm and carry and keep the firearm in my home is my Second Amendment right as an American. It's not up to the teachers. It's not up to the school board. It's my right. And fortunately, like you mentioned, I do live in Texas. I live in a state that's very gun friendly. I don't have the issues going on like in California and Maryland and Illinois, elsewhere. But it's not up to the educators to decide what we can keep in our homes, in the background of our children's Zoom meetings, any of that. It's our God-given American rights.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. And the fact that a teacher is allowed to file a complaint with the court, and there's no due process there, it immediately triggers the confiscation of those firearms in the states that have these laws. And then 7 days later, you're given a chance to go before a judge who will make a determination as to whether or not you can keep your firearms or if you're going to lose them. You not only lose the ones that you have, but you lose the ability to purchase any new ones. And that's a scary thought. The fact that a person who is not to take away from teachers, because I know that they're very highly educated and they're very highly trained professionals when it comes to education. But when it comes to dealing with situations involving firearms, or whether or not a person is mentally competent enough to have a firearm, they're not psychiatrists, they're not psychologists. These people aren't MDs, they're not doctors in any way or form. They're not trained on how to evaluate this type of person or a person's behavior. And to make a determination like that based on a comment made or a behavior shown by a child in school is not something that I think should be left in the hands of a teacher. It should be left to the hands of a psychiatrist or a licensed professional, someone who has to make that determination. Jennie, you're an educator. What do you think?
In all honesty, I think this is where the government is a little twisted with things. I feel like they're controlling too much now, and they are affecting the rights of citizens. Truthfully, I don't feel that it's right, the fact that now a teacher can go and do that. There should be a process involved. There should be a chain of command that has to be answered to prior to it getting to that point. But I don't, even as a citizen, stepping aside the fact of my job title, I don't think that it's right at all. I would like to have my own rights. But that, I feel, is being stripped from me.
Well, yeah, and I have to tell you, and I'm sure that Tia and Amber and I'm sure Bree will probably agree with me on this point. At some point, we as a country have to draw the line and tell the government that they are overstepping their authority. Okay, the government has forgotten, specifically the legislators have forgotten that they work for us, we the people. And the bigger problem here is not only that they have forgotten that, but they're overstepping their constitutional authority that they are granted within the Constitution. Like the Constitution enshrines those first set of amendments as protections specifically granted to the people. So with that being said, we really need to remind them of that and tell them, hey, look, enough is enough. The rights that aren't specifically enumerated to the federal government are left to the state. And within the state at that point, there are rights that aren't even granted to them. There are rights that are left to the parent to decide in their home. And there are rights that are left to us as the citizens. That's why we have these divisions that we have within the government and within the laws. Bree, what do you think? I mean, are they just going too far? Are the teachers overstepping their authority by even thinking that they can do this, even though it's allowed by law?
Absolutely. I think it's overstepping because that second bill that they're trying to pass along with that, the AB 12, is it would expand the maximum length of a gun confiscation order from 1 year to 5 years in determining, that amount of time from 1 to 5 years. As Americans, it is our Second Amendment right, and no one is going to take that away from us, even though people are trying to. So who has that right to even come in and take those guns from us? I can understand, obviously convicted felons and those who have had violent, like gun crimes in the past. That's been established and is well known. But someone getting a hold of the court just right away without even taking any steps. And then in addition to that, they're going to decide whether your firearms are going to be taken away for 1 to 5 years, which is absolutely ridiculous.
Absolutely.
Just,
the
that
fact
crosses the line.
The fact that you can have your firearms taken away from you with no due process at the very beginning, and just a phone call from a teacher can lead to a confiscation by a police officer in these states. And then you have to go to court to fight to get your rights back, where it's backwards. It should be the other way around. They should have to prove that they have the right to take your rights from you before they can do it. And I think that's the problem that we're seeing. Tia, what do you think? I know we're running out of time here, but I want to hear what you have to think about this real quick, and then we'll wrap up real quick and end our session here.
Well, the teachers that I know around here, they're not very pro Second Amendment. I, however, am. And a lot of the residents in, in our district are. We live in a very, we could be redneck on one side and country boy on one side and then city on the other. So it's where I live, it's a very big combination of people, melting pot of people. But we make it known that we do. We like our Second Amendment. We plan on keeping our Second Amendment right. I do let it be known that I do carry at home and outside the home. And it's for my safety and the safety of my children. I am a full-time mother. My husband works 2 jobs. I'm home 24 hours a day, basically, with 2 children. So yes, I am going to protect myself and my children. But I don't understand how legally, and this would probably be something that I would have to touch on with a relative, because I have a retired judge as a family member, how this is even constitutionally possible.
Well, I think that the problem is that it hasn't been constitutionally challenged yet in these states. I know that's going through the process in Maryland right now, but that's something that needs to be constitutionally challenged before we can see a ruling on the constitutionality.
Once you take away our Second Amendment rights, it's basically all our rights go right down with it. It's just a domino effect.
Okay. You lose the Second Amendment, and then you lose the ability to have any of them. You become an unarmed populace, and it's really sad. But I know that we are pretty much out of time here. We're just at the 9 o'clock mark. And after last week's show, I was reminded that we want to try to stay on point here for 9 o'clock. So if we can get our guests back up on the screen here for a second, I would love to be able to thank them for their time and have them, just be able to talk to us. So real quick, Bree, Amber, Jennifer, thank you guys so much for everything. I really appreciate you guys coming on to the show with us tonight.
Thank you.
It's been an honor and a privilege to have you guys here and to talk with you. It's been a great conversation. And I think that all in all, We really covered some ground today. You know,
Absolutely great conversation. Absolutely loved it tonight. Very, very informative on everybody's sides, everyone's side.
Absolutely. I know that we're going to have Amber coming back on the show next week. Next week's topic is going to be all about Second Amendment gun rights, and, you know, just all about the Second Amendment and the things that are going on to try and strip those rights away. We'll be discussing some of the stuff that the NRA is doing, and the movements that Amber has going on down in her home state of Texas. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation, Tia. And yeah, and with that being said, I want to remind everyone, please, 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 don't forget to donate at the link below at paypal.me/America United. As much as you guys can give, please be generous and help us out to help us continue to do the great work that we're doing here. So from myself and for Tia, I'd love to thank you guys for watching us tonight. Thank you so much. It was a great conversation. Take care, guys.
Good night.